Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing of the Sony Xperia Tablet Z. Now you can pick up this Wi-Fi only tablet in either a 16 or 32 gig capacity. It does also have a micro SD card slot for storage expansion, so do take that into account when choosing your respective model. Priced at $500 or $600 depending on which capacity you go with, you also get the option of selecting color. This comes in both black and white. Today we'll be looking at the 32 gig white version, since that's currently the only one available here in the US. With that said, as far as specifications, before I actually unbox it, I just want to give you guys a little bit of background. It pretty much is in line with just about every other high-end tablet, and it should be because of its price point, but it does bring some new and interesting features to the marketplace that we literally see from no other manufacturer. So starting off with the processor, we're looking at a Snapdragon quad-core S4 chip, which is certainly a performer, but it is not going to be best in class. I want to get that out of the way right now. That's to be anticipated. This is not next-gen hardware. But you do get 2 gigs of RAM, which certainly, again, makes it very competent. I expect very solid overall performance, pretty much the same performance you'd find with all high-end phones that are being launched currently. As far as in the future, that will, of course, change. In terms of the actual display, we've moved from Sony's 9.4-inch IPS displays to a 10.1-inch 920 by 1200p resolution display, which Sony has really bet the entire farm on here, because they've incorporated their Bravia Engine 2 technology, which is, of course, lended from their entire television lineup. And there is a wider gamut or color range, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, on this tablet than any other on the market. So when it comes to rendering colors accurately, this tablet should make every other tablet on the market look a little bit behind the times, no question about that, even though it doesn't have that extra resolution that some of the competition does have. With that said, certainly nice to see that they've put an emphasis on the screen. That's always been a big issue for me, is that too many manufacturers neglect the quality of the screen. And by quality, I don't mean only resolution. I'm talking about the overall performance. Sony even claims that they've improved the anti-glare on this. So it'll be really interesting to see how this works out. In terms of battery life, we're looking at roughly 9 hours. At least that's what's being quoted. Jelly Bean 4.1 out of the box. And of course, you do have Bluetooth, NFC, and in terms of Wi-Fi, A, B, G, and N. Beyond that, you know, everything else is pretty much standard fare. You do have a USB 2.0 port, which you'll see in a moment, as well as obviously stereo headphone output. So basically everything you'd expect from a tablet is here, but some of the nuance, some of the new things are what really make this unique. So with that said, let me get it out of the box. I do also want to point out, before I unbox this completely, that the tablet is water resistant, not waterproof. Now, the last generation, the Xperia Tablet S, was also supposed to be water resistant, but had some sealing issues. This one takes it a step further. You're actually able to submerge this tablet in up to 3 feet, or as much as 3 feet of water, for up to 30 minutes. So really, Sony trying to prove that this tablet can literally go anywhere. And that's important for, you know, I think every user out there to know exactly where they can take their tablet, and certainly not for everyone, but relevant for many. In terms of branding, before I get this out of the box, in terms of cameras, that's something I did leave out. We've got an 8 megapixel camera on the back, a 2 megapixel on the front end, which you'll see in a moment. The quad-core processor, I already pointed out, USB connectivity, your 10.1-inch display, and HD video capture. DLNA, of course, Wi-Fi I mentioned, PlayStation certification. Now, this is something a lot of you are going to care about, because there was a lot of controversy over whether the last Xperia tablet had it. It did, it just wasn't marketed properly. But this one, no question, out of the gate, has that PlayStation certification. The Bravia engine, which is, as I mentioned before, their mobile technology, essentially, that is, you know, coming from what they've standardized in their televisions for contrast control, color rendering, all of that is coming to this tablet. And that's why Sony, again, does market this as the best of Sony, because every element of their business kind of is epitomized by this tablet, or embodied in this tablet. So that's important to know. With that said, let's get it out of the box. As you can see, that water resistant certification right there too. But let's get it out. Let me break the seal. And I'm excited to share this with you guys, because it's been a while since I've had a tablet out here to actually share, and that's because, quite frankly, nothing has wowed me recently. And this is the first tablet that really takes a new direction, because not only does it have all the features I've mentioned, it's also the thinnest and lightest tablet in the marketplace. So it actually promises to give you a 10.1-inch experience without the weight we traditionally associate with a 10.1-inch tablet. And I think that's really important. Let's see if I can get it out of here. I just have to do a little dumping out here. But that, I think, is critical, because that's something that we really don't get. And I can tell you guys right now, really, really light out of the packaging, which is a good thing. And as you can see right here, we've got that white background. As I mentioned, you can pick this up in black, but right now, white is the only color. Definitely a very solid feel on this tablet, even though it's just a hair over a pound, which, as I mentioned a second ago, does make it the lightest tablet on the market. There's that 8-megapixel rear camera, which also I expect good things out of the cameras on here, because after all, Sony is one of the largest digital imaging companies in the world, and those of you who follow my channel know I'm pretty fond of quite a few of their cameras. So you've got that Exmor-R sensor in there. I expect good things. I don't expect to be blown away. After all, this is a tablet, but I still expect it to be one of the best cameras on a tablet out there to date. Now you can see it is really, really thin. This is the right side of the tablet. There is a speaker down there at the bottom. Nothing else here on the right side. On the top, we've got our infrared, something I did not mention before. This started with the Xperia Tablet S. You do have the ability to use this tablet as a universal remote control, which I think is a great add-on. Again, Sony using their brain, recognizing that this really should be the master control for everything that is Sony. Samsung does also have a feature like this. If you've watched my Note reviews, then you know about it already. It is solid there. I do think Sony does a little bit of a better job, so it'll be interesting to see how they've tweaked software and how that feature has improved with the Xperia Z as opposed to the Xperia S. As far as other things, that also appears to be a microphone right there. That would make sense since it is going to be right above the front-facing camera. On the left side of the tablet, you can see we've got our, I believe that's the headphone jack right there. Let me pop that open, if I can. And everything is sealed here, if you've noticed, and that's for obvious reasons. The waterproofing, or I should say water-resistant rating, is all dependent on these things being closed. If any of them are open, then the integrity is compromised. You've got your power button, very industrial look here, a complete departure from what we have come to know about Sony's tablet brand. Your volume rocker, it appears that is a reset pinhole right there. Some charging ports, I'm going to assume, for when it's in the cradle, and then your other speaker. That pretty much rounds it out. At the bottom of the tablet, we've got, I would imagine this is the USB port. Let's just double check. Yep, you've got a, looks like a micro, and that pretty much covers it. There is also over here on the right, or no, excuse me, that is the USB, yeah, that was the micro USB port, and then this is finally our micro SD card slot, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So Sony has made sure to tuck all of these components in. As you can see, I'm having a little problem popping open the micro SD, but that's not a bad thing. That's on me. It's just my first time using it. It wasn't really that difficult. That would be the SIM card on the international version, the Japanese model. Of course, this does not have a SIM card slot on it, but they still left that intact. So that's pretty much it in terms of the actual form factor. Really slim, as you can see, and very lightweight. With that said, let me go ahead and pull off the plastic screen protector and show you guys the actual display, see if it'll booting up with about half charge, which is not a bad thing. It'll be interesting to see how long this tablet does actually take to get a full charge. In terms of the screen right now, it looks pretty solid to me. Very vivid, which is definitely what Sony's going for. They're looking for that pop that Super AMOLED delivers, but they don't want that overboard pop and saturation that ends up looking unrealistic. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually achieve that. And definitely looking forward to giving you guys further impressions on this. But I like the concept. I like what they've done. And the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have industry-changing hardware, at least when it comes to what's under the hood, not as much as critical as the software really being sound, as we all know, because a tablet that works out of the box is a tablet that you will keep. And Sony really is promising to have made something sturdy here, so we'll see with some time. As you can see, we've got our standard micro USB cable right here. I showed you guys that port on the bottom left side before, so no change, still a micro USB. Luckily, nothing proprietary on this tablet, which can't be said for the last generation. We did have a proprietary charging port there, so definitely nice to see them abandon that. We've got our actual brick to connect our micro USB charger to, which is also a completely new design. Not that it's anything groundbreaking, but certainly nice to see them changing things up. And then we've got a pile of papers here, and I have to imagine that that has a lot to do with the fact that we're dealing with a water, not proof device, but resistant device. And we've got some safety guidelines, some other languages, special offer for accessories, startup guide, pretty much everything you could imagine. So yeah, a lot of paperwork. This is interesting. They're even giving you the radiation documentation. Kudos to Sony. I've never seen that with a tablet before, and that is definitely nice to see, something that's generally missing from just about every piece of consumer electronics that's based around the hardware of a smartphone. So overall, definitely pleased with what I'm seeing here, and look forward to giving you guys further impressions. Again, the NFC, the Bluetooth, hopefully very good Wi-Fi performance, the water resistance, and what promises to be one of the best displays in the business, in one of the lightest and most, really, I would have to say, beyond light, just well-balanced tablets ever made. I can already tell that this isn't going to give you the same fatigue that pretty much every other thing that has come before it would. So a lot going for it. It's still very expensive. I'm going to put it through the paces. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.